Hello everyone, my name is Chenggong and I teach Chinese online. And today I want to talk about Chinese radicals. And radicals are important, especially if you want to learn how to write or read Chinese. And they also have two different writing styles. One is called simplified and the other is called traditional. The big difference between the two is one is more complex of a writing system and one is more simplified. And depending on where you're at in China depends on what system they'll use. The system that I've learned was the simplified system, but I can still read and recognize the more traditional words when they come about. So depending on where you are is where you'll see mostly simplified or traditional writing systems. So let's get into how you begin to read and write Chinese. So that's where radicals come into play. And as you notice with Chinese, there's no alphabet. I've said this many times. There's no Roman alphabet in Chinese. So you can't just spell out a word or a character. So what they do have, or what you can also consider like the Chinese alphabet, is called a radical system. And Chinese radicals, there's roughly about 200 of them, depending on which dictionary you look at. And the way that they're used is, just like with English, you can't spell a word without using the alphabet, right? You can't put a letter that's not in the English alphabet in a word. So the same as with Chinese. Every character will have a radical component as a part of it. So if you go to write a word, it'll have a radical in it. And that's what we'll cover today. The basic Chinese radical, I just want to introduce you to some basic concepts, right? And basically radicals are like the alphabet. Every character you see will have a radical in it as a component. So let's get to it. And there's roughly about 200 radicals. So, like we said, these radicals or the Chinese language or these characters are based off of pictures. That's how old the language is. I almost want to say similar to hieroglyphics, right? If you ever seen the hieroglyphics writing system in Egypt, you'll see like an eye or a bird or a feather that represents a word. In Chinese, this very old ancient language, their system is also based off drawings. And that's why you don't see any alphabets in it. And I'll give you some examples. Like this here is the character ren, which is person. And you can easily see how you can draw a stick figure to make the word people in Chinese, which is ren. So now you have the concept that the Chinese language is based off of pictures almost. And these pictures or radicals can give you clues to how a character is pronounced or the meaning of it. This is why radicals are very important when it comes to reading and writing, because it can give you clues to how a word is pronounced or the meaning of the word. Got it? You with me so far? So let's get to it. So now I want to go over a few examples of a few radicals that are words and some that just give you clues to meanings. So this radical here is ren, and it means person. And there's two ways to write this radical, which is li ren pang, which is a standing version, or the traditional version. And usually when you see this radical, sometimes it gives you clues to the meaning which deals with people. Another radical is this call, and this means mouth. And you'll see this radical a part of many words that have to deal with the mouth. For instance, to eat. Chi has the mouth radical in it. To drink. He also, as you can see, has the mouth radical in it. Are you following along so far? So again, a lot of the Chinese language is based off pictures or characters, not letters and alphabets. And to give you clues, you have radicals. So each character or each word will have a radical component which can give you clues to its meaning or how it's pronounced. And this one here is called 三点水. And this, a lot of times when you see this radical, it'll deal with water. And this radical here is sun. And this is also a word and it's a radical. So by itself, it's a word which means sun, and it's a radical. When you see this as a part of other words, it can give you a clue to its meaning. And this one here is called yue, which is moon or month. And a lot of times when you see this radical, it deals with body parts. And this is just a quick, simple introduction into Chinese radicals. So basically you can think of them as the Chinese alphabet, and there's roughly about 200 of them. And each Chinese character has a radical component that's a part of it. And sometimes the radical gives you clues to the meaning and also how the word is pronounced. Please like and subscribe and follow for more Day 1 Chinese lessons starting from 0. If you have absolutely no knowledge of the Chinese language, I'm here to help you bridge the gap.